Hello, everybody. So, a brief introduction. I know that things are running a little behind. My name is Jay Kidd. I am the creative director and founder for Wraith Games. We are a studio, a small studio, an independent studio who makes video games in just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. I have been doing this since about 2005. It's been a long time. And so our team size, we have 12 team members. We have 2 interns. They're absolutely wonderful. The thing is that we've seen a lot of indie game companies start up and fall. We've seen a lot of indie game companies start up and succeed. We've seen a lot of solo devs, get into it with full passion and go and meet their success. And we've also seen a lot of solo devs who just get so burnt out by their experience that they just can't move forward. Now, the thing is that I know a lot of these talks here today are about how you can get involved with the AAA community. But I and my team, we are indies through and through. We have the indie spirit running through our veins. So, I'm going to tell you one of the most important tools that you can have as an independent developer or a solo developer, an independent team or solo developer, is social media management. And you're probably thinking, social media. I hate social media. It's a bunch of vapid people just talking about their lives, and it's all hollow and fake and terrible. We've all seen 30 billion Instagram photos where it's like, those aren't even your legs. That's hot dogs from a weird angle. No, I get it. But social media management isn't just a way to get your projects out. It isn't just a way to talk to people. It is actually a way to build a community around your games. And for an independent developer, community is the single most important thing you can do. Because not for your first game, you know what I mean? It's going to be hard to build a community around your first game. But once you do, then you have people who are going to stick with you for your second. And you build up momentum from there. And then you have people who are going to stick with you for your third and your fourth, building on your success. The most die-hard of those fans are what are actually called... Yes, because I totally remember what I was about to say. They're actually called brand ambassadors. And a brand ambassador is someone who loves your product so much that they will tell all of their friends about it. And you don't have to pay them. Just the fact that you're out there making cool stuff and being a cool voice to them, that is their passion, and they want to share your projects with everyone. So, social media management for indies. I gotta tell you, when I first started this company, it was actually back still in the MySpace days, so that was forever ago. Knowing that a lot of you guys are college age, you may not even know what MySpace is, which is a terrifying prospect to think about. But this was when Facebook was really starting to take off, and this was way before Twitter. When Twitter first started out, it was actually a way where you could just text message onto the server because smartphones weren't really a thing. Now, the big thing is that Twitter is the powerhouse for independent developers. And Instagram is one of the best ways that you can promote for your games. Facebook's kind of a lost cause, but I will be touching on Facebook here today. So, let's get started with Twitter. I bet a lot of you here have Twitters. I bet a lot of you here have Twitters that are actually for just your games or your game projects. And that's a really important thing to have. However, have you ever wondered what the difference between a really, really successful Twitter with a whole bunch of followers and a lot of engagements is, and then a Twitter where you're I just keep posting and posting and posting, and no one seems to really care? Well, the big difference between those things is mostly, 1, sticking to a schedule, 2, actively engaging with your followers, 3, actively seeking out followers, and 4, making sure to always follow up. So what do I mean by a schedule? Well, that means making tweets at the same time every single day. And you have to make tweets throughout the day, too. So who here, by show of hands, would like to stand up, or not stand up, would like to get up every morning and post at 10 a.m. on Twitter every morning? Show of hands. One person. What if you then had to go and do that at 12:30? And then you had to do that at 1:15. And then you had to do that at 3. And then you had to do that at 5:30. And then you had to do that at 9. No one's raising a single, you still want to stand there and tweet all those times during the day. Consistency, it's important. But I'm going to tell you, our social media, the Wraith Game social media does that. And I run the Wraith Game social media. I don't tweet at those times every single day. That's absolutely ludicrous. You're going to want to get yourself a platform like Buffer or Hootsuite. Now, both Buffer and Hootsuite are free, but they also have monthly payments and stuff that you can do. We don't even pay for the full version. And that's because the full version basically allows you to schedule, I think it's up to 100 posts ahead of time. 100 social media posts. Let me tell you, you are not going to be able to think of 100 social media posts for your indie game. Nothing that's actually really super solid. Now, one of the reasons for this is your game's always changing. You're always adding stuff to it. You're always going to new shows. You're always doing interesting things with your game. There's no way you can sit down in one night and write 100 tweets that are actually going to be relevant by the time they come out, especially if you're doing, 6 tweets a day, 5 days a week. Maybe 6 days a week. Never 7 days a week. Give your audience a rest, please. So, what do you do with these platforms? Well, you can actually create a schedule, a timed schedule. It's really, really cool. And you can be like, I want a tweet to go out on 5 a.m. every single day, or 5 a.m. just on Mondays. And then I want another tweet to go out at noon. And it's wonderful, it's amazing, and you do not have to think. Every single night before I go to bed, I schedule 6 tweets. And then I go to sleep. It takes me 10 minutes. 10 minutes for the single most important thing you can do to promote your indie game. Because let me tell you, if you were to ask me, 10 years ago, what the best way to promote your indie game was, I would probably say banner ads, right? Everyone, banner ads. Let's be real here. By show of hands.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. By show of hands, who here has some sort of ad block on their computer? Yeah? And the ones of you who don't have your hands raised are lying. Yep. So, at this point, even Chrome is adding a built-in ad block here very, very soon. Remember, Chrome, made by Google, the company who makes all their money from ads. Isn't that weird? A little weird? Because AdBlock makes for a better user experience. And user experience is what Google is now selling on their browser. So, banner ads do nothing. You will never get turnover for your game using banner ads. Commercials, TV commercials? Oh yeah, if you're going to want to throw $10,000 at TV commercials in a local area for your niche indie game, be my guest. Something tells me you won't want to do that. Oh, putting out an ad in print magazine? That's wonderful. It's good that you're a visitor from the 1980s. How long have you been frozen? So, social media. That's the big thing. And social media is gloriously free. You're not having to spend thousands of dollars. You're spending 10 minutes every night. And you're not paying for Buffer. You're not paying for Hootsuite because you don't need 100 tweets being able to be sent out. Just the 6. Now, schedule. Okay, how am I going to schedule content? Well, who here has a blog? 2 people. 2 people. If you have a game, you should have a blog. I'm going to tell you right now, at first, no one will read your blog. It's just not going to happen. If you're going to look at numbers and be like, oh, God, okay, fine. Yeah, 3 people read this. I'm pretty sure 2 of them are my mom. Okay, no, that's fine. But it's a good way to actually get more social media traffic. I'm going to tell you the best way to do your blog is to do a new blog post every single week. You will not do that. We barely do that at our studio. We had, for an entire year, a new blog post every single week. That is 52 posts. Yeah, that lasted a year. That just a year. It was absolutely awful. Well, what ended up happening is we went to monthly, which is a much better sort of thing. It is optimal if you're going to be doing social media to do your blogs weekly. Because on Monday, you post at your first slot. Remember, you have 6 slots. So it's like, okay, wake up in the morning, I have a new blog post. I did that blog post on Sunday. You know, the Twitter day of rest, I guess. I don't know. So, I mean, like for our studio, it makes sense because people don't come into work on Sunday. So we do the blog post then. Really cool. Monday, it is your first slot. Tuesday, it is your second slot. Wednesday, it is your 5th slot. Because you don't want people to know that you're like super scheduled. You want people to be like, okay, cool. You want people to always know that it'll be at your 5 p.m. time slot on Wednesdays, but you don't want people to think like, oh, it's always your first slot, and then your second slot, and then your third slot. You know, make it feel natural, because ultimately, being natural is what this is all about. However, this is being natural for 10 minutes every day without actually having to like super overthink it. So then Thursday comes along, and you move that to your 3rd slot. And then Friday happens, and that is your 5th slot yet again. Skip the 4th slot, why not? Be bold, be crazy, be dangerous. So the thing is that that's just blog posts. And you can do this if you do a monthly blog as well, and that's absolutely fine. But like if you're doing your weekly blog, that way it's like, and by the way, I'm literally meaning tweeting out the same blog post every day for an entire week. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, that actually gives all of your followers a chance to be like, oh, cool, I read that, you know? And it'll give them a chance to retweet. And then it'll be like, oh, no, I missed it on Tuesday. Now I can go catch it on Thursday. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Now, the thing is that the next week rolls around, and that is an entirely new blog post. Now, likely, you're not going to want to do a weekly blog post. I really super encourage you to do that, like if you're really serious about this. But if you just do a blog post once a month, that's great. However, at that point, I would do it like your first week of that blog post, reminding people every single day, and then your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th week, just reminding them like once a week. You know, just sort of switch up your days. Now, the next big thing. Got your blog post and it's roaming around. You want what's called an engagement tweet. Your engagement tweet, and let me tell you, I don't do many engagement tweets anymore. They were really good when we were working with a lot of like growth needed, you know, when we were trying to really get a lot of followers. But at the end of every single day, your last tweet, your 6th tweet slot, you either post a quote related to development or art or programming or something really inspirational, something from like Hideo Kojima or Satoru Iwata or Nolan Bushnell, something really cool, you know? And that is a quote. Or a poll. Like, hey guys, you know, doing my end of the day poll, who wants to see these new features, you know? Like, whichever is the best one, I'll be putting it in. Or you can ask a question like, hey, who's played the newest build? What do you like about it? What don't you like? Oh man, the new Assassin's Creed just came out. We really loved it around the studio. What are you guys thinking? And then mix those up. Don't schedule like Monday is always a question, Tuesday is always a poll. No, you move them around into different sort of slots. Now, here's the key thing. If you are going to use an engagement tweet, it's called an engagement tweet for a reason. It's not a one-way street. Don't just expect people to engage with you. Like, if someone comments on your tweets, any tweet, comment back. Like their posts. Retweet the good ones. Really show them that they matter to you. And I'm not saying fake that they matter to you. No, these are the lifeblood of your game. Actually realize that they matter to you. Be like, oh man, someone asked a really cool question. I'm going to respond to that. Or someone said something really, really mean. If it's damaging to you or your brand, don't be afraid to block them. But if it's an experience to actually reach out and try to change someone's mind, don't get into some sort of like Twitter argument or anything, but like go and be like, oh, actually that's kind of weird. We kind of thought of this feature a different way. It's interesting that you point that out. We'll take that into consideration and maybe change that in the future. Things like that. Actually engage with them. Kill them with kindness. Doesn't always work. Twitter's full of trolls. The block button is your friend. Just know that you can, on occasion, pick and choose certain battles to be like, no, I can engage with this. Also, there's an idea of what's called the investment fallacy, where it's like, I put so much effort into something that if I back out now, all of that effort will be lost. That is a fallacy. If you have accidentally started getting into a Twitter argument, don't be afraid to just stop and block. That's fine. Be like, oh no, I spent 4 tweets and I kind of sound like a jerk in this. You know, we're just done here. They're done. It's fine. Now, I know it kind of goes counter to what a lot of people think about social media, but remember, you are curating your image on this platform, and no one wants to seem like a jerk, especially if you're actually a jerk. Now, that's cool. Engagement tweets. Wonderful. Hashtags. So I like to call them, because I'm old, pound signs. If you're really, really old, I think is it a flat? I don't know. No, it's a sharp. Yes. I should know this. C#, computers. Can anyone tell I'm a designer and not a programmer? So, thing is that hashtags are really, really important. Find 2 or 3 hashtags that are relevant to each tweet. Tweets without hashtags do not do well. It sucks, and it's soulless, and it's awful, and just, you have to work within the system you're given. Now, that's actually really funny. I'm focusing a lot on Twitter. Don't worry, I am going to get to Instagram, and I'm going to get to Facebook, and then sadly I'm also going to get to Google+, which is about to die. But the thing is that on Instagram, you want like 25 hashtags per post. On Twitter, if you go over 3, someone might get really mad at you. It's bad. Indie game, game dev, game art, game design. If you're on a Nintendo platform, Nindies. If you're doing Unity stuff, made with Unity. Absolutely wonderful. If you're like, oh man, I just finished this new UI, throw up a picture of the UI, hashtag, and when you're like, I just finished this, hashtag UI, and then be like, hashtag indie games, hashtag game dev. Great, simple. Do not overthink it. I know that a lot of this for you guys are like, oh man, I've been using social media for years. Like, I know this already. The fundamentals are really, really important when you're building your platform. Because if you start messing up early, or if you start thinking, no, I understand how this system works, it can really, really hurt you. So the thing is that sometimes certain hashtags are really appropriate at certain times. There's Indie Dev Hour. 1 hour once a week, you know, you'll see a bunch of Indie Dev Hour stuff floating up. They're wanting you to post screenshots or video or something. I love video on Indie Dev Hour because you also have Screenshot Saturday. Every Saturday, you do hashtag Screenshot Saturday, new screenshot from your stuff. Absolutely wonderful. People love to do that. Unity, if you're working in Unity, has Made with Unity Thursdays. There is an engagement hashtag for every day of the week. Don't miss out on it. And again, use your schedule to mix them up a little bit. Here's where it gets really cool. Fridays has my favorite, Follower Fridays. Follower Fridays is the time to show your followers that you care. So you're probably thinking, yeah, I've seen those Follower Fridays things, hashtag FF. Wonderful, great, amazing. And then you see 18 different usernames smacked all together so that no one can read them. If I see any of you guys doing that, I will walk to your house and slap you. Follower Fridays is about user engagement. You pick one new follower that you think is awesome. You've looked at their profile, you think they have cool stuff, and you call them out personally. Hey, I just saw Super Soul's new game, hashtag Kentucky Run. You guys should go check it out. Hashtag indie games, hashtag made in Kentucky, you know, like put it out there. Then their audience sees it. They're already following you. They're going to give it a retweet. They're going to be happy that you engaged with them. And quite frankly, you may have just made a friend. Go comment on their stuff. That's the important thing. Make an actual community. Don't fake a community. If you're going to have fans for any project you do, no matter how small, you want these people to value that you're putting time into them. Yeah, you can make all these tweets in 10 minutes before you go to bed, but you better, throughout the day, just pull out your phone and be like, oh man, someone commented. I'm going to comment back. I'm going to follow them. I'm going to look at stuff. Now, here's the big one. This is the deepest, darkest practice. Follower phishing. Spooky. A lot of people tell you, don't follower fish. Follower phishing's terrible. Follower fish. But ethically follower fish. None of that like taking a large net and then catching like 3,000 tuna and then slaughtering them all. No. Go to the whole thing of who should I follow and just follow a bunch of people. Now, here's the thing. You generally want people who actually don't have a lot of people following them, who do have a lot of people that they are following, who are doing things within your circle. Other game devs, other artists, streamers. Oh, streamers. Streamers are absolutely lovely. But here's the thing. Maybe do like 10 or 20 a day. Actually comment on their stuff. There are other indie devs. They're small streamers. They need support just like you. Actually get to know them. Start commenting. Start retweeting. Start giving them shout outs. Make friends. Because here's the thing. It might be cynical to be like, social media, you got to farm all this stuff and everything. No. Actually make friends online. I can't stress that enough. Some of my closest developer friendships started with me just like randomly following someone and then like liking a few of their things and being like, oh wow, actually that game's really cool. I'm gonna like actually talk to him about it. And then we saw each other like PAX and stuff. And someone watching this actually knows exactly who I'm talking about. So the thing is that like, don't be cynical about it. Don't be jaded about it. Don't be like, oh, social media. Blah. No. We are a community as game developers. We're a community as artists. We're a community as programmers. Feel it. And then if you're doing like 20, 25 a day, at the end of a week or 2 weeks, you can unfollow the people who didn't follow back. They didn't take the bait. It's fine. And then also write down on a notepad the ones that didn't follow you back. Try them again in 6 months. Because if you accidentally refollow the same person like a few times, they get really mad at you. So also I notice, so I do a lot of my talks almost like a stand-up routine. If you laugh, it will get picked up on the mic, and that'll actually make my talk sound even better. So if I say something funny, like the mic wants to know it. So the thing is though, that like Twitter is the single best place for indie games right now. It just is. And Twitter's an awful, awful place to exist in general. So by surrounding yourself with like other people, with good devs, with good projects, with good vibes, you're not just helping yourself, you're helping them, you're helping the community grow, and then also just stay away from everyone else, basically. Now, next thing. Instagram. You are going to want to make 3 posts a day. Well, to be honest, anywhere between 2 to 5 posts a day on Instagram. And if you're saying, where am I going to get all the content for this? Well, the answer really is that screenshots are lovely. GIFs or GIFs or GIFs or however you want to pronounce them are also absolutely wonderful. So you can also do things like here at this event. Go to a booth. Take some selfies with some other people who are making games. Show your way around. Go to talks and be like, oh, I'm here at this wonderful talk. That's an Instagram post. And then you have to create yourself a tag cloud. Tag clouds are like 20, 25 hashtags that are all relevant to your stuff. Talk about like cynical. Tag clouds are the worst thing. In a tag cloud, it's like hashtag Nintendo, hashtag indie games, hashtag made with Unity, hashtag PAX East. And it's just like a bunch of them. And then you get people and they like follow you. It's weird. I can't explain Instagram. I can't explain how it works. It just, people do it. I think most people on Instagram are robots. Also, 90% of your followers will probably be apparel companies. I don't know why. They just will be. I just shrugs. There's no answers for that. However, go to people's posts, follow them, like them, comment, engage. That's the name of the game. Social media is about engagement, except for Facebook. I know it sounded like I skipped over Instagram really, really quickly, but it's Twitter with pictures. Basically, the same amount of content. Tag people, make hashtags, just a whole lot more of them, and just do almost the same amount of content. And you want really high quality photos. Like if you have like a good external lens, like a $12 to $20 external lens for your phone, put that on. If you have a DSLR camera, use that instead. Because like if your Instagram pictures look awful, that's bad. Look up some YouTube tutorials for how to make better photographs. Don't look up Instagram tutorials. Look up tutorials for actual photography. You know, rule of thirds, Dutch angles, fisheye lenses, really cool stuff. Not everything should be like a selfie or like a square on a room. Like, no. Actually look up photography tutorials. But Facebook. Facebook. Facebook is a dying platform that everyone's grandmother uses. And quite honestly, it is the worst place to be for an indie dev. Did you know that the more you post on Facebook per day, the less people see your posts? Meaning the optimal number of posts to make is between 1 to 2 posts a day. 7 days a week, not 5 or 6 like Twitter. They want you posting every day. They don't care what time you post. They just want you to post. Also, the thing they won't tell you, posts with links tend to do poorly. Posts with pictures, one picture, tend to do really well. Posts with multiple pictures tend to do poorly. Posts that are over 2 sentences of any length, really. You can have a really run-on sentence. 2 sentences. That's what they want. If you have to push read more, well, there's your problem. You want concise, you want shareable, and you want what they call noteworthy. You can't post little development updates unless it's something big like, we just won this award. Here's a picture of us with this award. Tagging, oh, that's another thing. If you tag another page, your post will be seen less. Isn't that weird? You would think that if you were at PAX East and you won a big award at PAX East and you tagged PAX East, that more people would see it. Nope, if you just write PAX East, your tweet will, or your Facebook post will do better. Actually, a little aside. This is something that I actually wasn't preparing for the talk, but it is something that we brought on a couple interns to do some of our social media. On Twitter, if you start a tweet with a tag, like a personal tag, like @WraithGames, it will not count as an actual tweet. It'll count as a tweet too, meaning it won't show up on your timeline. So if you are tagging someone in your team, like @WireframeRabbit did a wonderful job on this 3D art, it will tag him and not show up on your timeline. Meaning, you have to be like, oh man, exclamation point, @WireframeRabbit did a wonderful thing. And once you realize this, if you look at our Twitter, you see so many so's and ums and oh's and oh mans just because we have to like give acknowledgement to the rest of our team. It's absolutely crazy. But that was just a brief aside. I normally don't even prepare that for this talk, but we didn't even realize that people didn't know that until our interns started stepping in and were like, oh no, I'm doing this. And I'm like, oh no, you didn't know. So, little thing. But anyway, if you tag someone like a page in your Facebook post, it's actually going to be worse for you. Oh, and by the way, have an actual Facebook page. Don't just have like a personal page that you're expecting to do things. Don't have like a thing that people can friend for your game company or for you personally as your studio. It doesn't work out well. You want an actual page. Also, if you can like prove that you have a physical location, even if it's just the university, they will actually give you a little verification mark, which is nearly impossible to get on something like Twitter. But that's really good for your Facebook metrics. But you have to be like, this is the business phone number, this is our location, and here's proof that we're real. Not hard to do. A little check mark goes a long way. But even then, you are going to have way, way, way less followers on your Facebook page than you're going to ever have on your Twitter, unless you started out at the beginning, at the very beginning. Now, Twitter. There's a thing called the ratio. You want more people following you than you are following, by at least half. If you are following 2,000 people, you had better have 4,000 to 5,000 followers. Otherwise, the way people search for you starts going down. You're also less desirable to people trying to follow you because they think you're like doing like weird bait stuff. No, like keep it smooth. You know what I mean? You don't have to follow every single person that follows you unless there's a really, really good reason for it. Our studio actually has a policy that we will unfollow anyone who we're engaging with who's not following back after 2 months. And also, just because we like you doesn't mean we'll follow you back. And that's mean. That's absolutely terrible. But if these are people you know, these are friends you know, just let them know. Be like, if your mom's following you and your mom's like, no, honey, why aren't you following me back on Twitter? Be like, my personal account is, but the company can't because we can't afford to be following that many people back. I'm sure she'll understand. So, 10 minutes. Okay, that's absolutely wonderful. So, here's the thing. When you're doing your social media, always make sure to have a schedule. Always make sure to be tweeting new, interesting, engaging things. Even if you don't think they're the most groundbreaking, just your people hearing from you, that's the really big thing, you know? And ultimately, don't use Google+. So, I'm going to open the floor to questions. So, does anyone have any questions? No questions? Hey!
So in like the modern landscape of game marketing, a big thing is streamers and YouTubers.
Yes.
What would you say the best and most appropriate way would be to reach out to them to cover your game?
Okay, so 2 things. One, I actually later today have a writing a marketing presentation. So like literally going out to bloggers and streamers and all that jazz. That is slightly more appropriate for that talk. However, if you're doing it, if you're engaging with them on social media specifically, follow them. Hopefully they follow you back. Private message. Sometimes if you're really cheeky and you have enough followers, you can get away with publicly calling them out. Sometimes I do that and it's hilarious. And my followers are like, yeah, do that. And then other times I do that and then like Steve gets mad at me. So like, I mean, it's what happens. But the thing is that what you can do to start getting generic streamers, I don't mean generic in like a bad way, but if you're not trying to specifically market to individual streamers, what you can do is be like hashtag West Virginia streamers. Or you can actually go to the West Virginia Streamers Twitter group. I'm sure it exists. Ohio Streamers, Indiana Streamers already has one. Kentucky Streamers. You can follow them, and you can engage with that page directly, and then some smaller streamers might pick you up. If you have enough people who are doing smaller streams, the larger streamers will be interested, especially when you message them and be like, hey, by the way, we've actually had 16 streamers look at us this week. We'd really like you to cover this. I can send you a code. Would you be interested? Just be really nice, really cordial, unless you are big enough, in which case you can make just a fool of yourself and just publicly call out people, but always make it a joke if you're doing it then, because then maybe they'll DM you.
Like you said, off the streaming.
Yes.
Is it
Okay, so as far as streaming is concerned, the way we stream at Wraith is we have game streams, dev streams, and art streams. And then so we segment them up. And then sometimes when we do game streams, we have like a little segment that's called streaming our own games. As long as you make it very, very aware that this is your work, that's absolutely wonderful. Now, here's the problem. Twitch just got rid of Twitch Creative. And that is devastating. And they will hopefully bring it back. But Twitch Creative was the lifeblood of dev streams. It was the lifeblood of art streams. And you can find ways around that. There are places where you can go on Twitch where it's like, oh no, like certain channels, it's fine. Not channels. We have a streaming people at the studio. I don't actually do the streaming myself. Categories, there we go. Certain categories where you're like, oh no, it's safe to do that here. But as long as you are like, this is my own work, I'm doing this for this project, that's wonderful. And that can even help bolster your other social media as well. Additional questions, please. I live on questions. And as far as I'm concerned, if I don't get any questions, that means I did a poor job. Because people would be like, no, you've answered all of our questions in the talk itself. No, I will actually go home and hate myself if I don't get more questions. So, anyone? Yes?
I'll give you a follow-up for a follow-up.
Those are tempting, but they tend to result in poor engagement. So we tend not to do those. Yeah, and also it really messes with like your metrics, because you're like, oh, I've gained a follower, but I also, yeah, it also goes up. Yeah.
What's your Twitter handle?
I personally am at SIRKIDD2003. However, it is super political. Do not go there. If you want my company's Twitter, and that is handled by both me and then part-time by both my wife, Kristen Iwema, as well as brand manager and 3D art director Stephen Dorgan, that is at WRAITHGAMES, and that's it. And that's also Facebook, Instagram, Google+. I give Google+ a hard time. Google+ actually was my favorite social media platform, but no one used it, and it's not worth your time. And it's literally dying next week, so just don't do it. So, 5 minutes. I have 5 minutes to fill. I need more questions. Like, I literally cut myself. Yeah.
When you're starting a new project and you're wanting to make like more content about that, how would you get started on building it from the ground?
Okay, so that is a wonderful question. I love that. No tweet is too small, and no project is too unpolished to start tweeting about, or making any sort of social media post. Though, if your project's really, really unpolished, maybe wait on the Instagram just a little bit. But what you can do is basically be like, okay, hey guys, like as your first tweet, like, hey guys, I'm on this new project. It's called Bunny Kill. Hashtag Bunny Kill, make your own hashtag for that. Always hashtag your own games, unless your game is named something that another game's named, in which case you did a poor job Googling. You should have named your game something else. And then be like, I'm going to start doing stuff. And then you make that first tweet an engagement tweet. What do you guys think about that? Hashtag indie games, hashtag game dev. And then from there, be like, wait like a day or two, and then be like, okay, now I'm going to do 3 tweets. And then you're like, oh, everybody, this is a little about the game. You know, try not to make a tweet thread. Tweet threads are fine, but keep them to a minimum. Just be like, hey, yeah, this is a little about the game. Hope you guys are interested. And then noon, you're like, hey, this is the first screenshot. All it is a cube floating in space. You know, what do you guys think? Is it a good cube? What do you think this cube should be? That is actually stolen straight from Wolfire Games. They started their entire game Overgrowth just by a floating cube in their engine. And then they started adding blood to the cube to show off like their splatter effects engine. And then from there, they're like, hey, everyone, what do you think we should do with this cube? And then eventually it became Overgrowth. That is a great way you can start it. Be like, who wants to give feedback? And then at the end of the day, then I would make another engagement tweet and be like, oh man, Shigeru Miyamoto is one of my all-time inspirations. Here's a quote, and then quote them, and then the next day go full 5 tweets, and then yeah, Now, here's the thing. I also, this is in my other talks as well, I heavily encourage going to as many events as humanly possible, big or small. They're vital for promotion, and they make for the best social media content, especially on Instagram. If you can get big crowd shots of people around your booth or as you're walking around the booths, do that. So it's never too early to go to events for your game too, which is like if you can like have 3 months of development, go showcase your game somewhere. And then take a bunch of pictures, tweet off of that, follow the event, retweet the event. Hopefully the event follows you. It's absolutely wonderful stuff. Yes?
So more on kind of similar to what he asked, but in a different direction. What are your personal thoughts and tips on starting an actual business/company that's going into games?
That is absolutely wonderful. I actually have a talk on that later today. I have 6 talks over this. I actually don't know if it's later today. It might be tomorrow. You may want to look at the schedule. But I actually have 6 talks. 2 of them are the same talk, and then the rest are like some miscellaneous things, except for one, which is a panel I'm sharing with some other developers. So go check that one out.
But if you give one pro tip, what would you say?
The one pro tip for starting your own studio is, unless you are really, really willing to bust your butt and put as much time into programming and art and design and sound as you can muster, find yourself a team. And find yourself a team that like is as dedicated to the projects as you are, because even if that team doesn't last forever, it's a good way to get started, and then that way you can also learn to project manage. You can learn to keep deadlines. Always keep deadlines. If you don't keep deadlines and you don't keep your game in a proper scope, you'll be developing the same game for 12 years. Our studio has done that. Do not do that. So the one tip would be find developers who can fill a niche. Yes.
What's your proudest game so far?
The proudest game so far would actually have to be Collapsus, and that's only because it's won 6 industry awards and it's been nominated for 8 others. Collapsus is actually what we're showcasing downstairs. It was originally made for my mom's. They didn't like it at first, but then my my fiance loved it, and then we actually joke that's why she married me. Collapsus is a gravity-defying puzzle game. And so it's actually centered around a resource management mechanic, and it uses uses your device's built-in accelerometer. We're actually it's on Switch, PS4, PS Vita, Xbox One, as well as on mobile. So it's a big old game, but you'll notice it's the big L-shaped booth downstairs, because otherwise I'm going to literally suck up the entire rest of this talking about it. Yes. Other than Collapsus, I will say, because I mean it's Collapsus. I love Collapsus. My favorite game I've been involved with would probably be Radarkanoid. Radarkanoid was my studio's second like big project. It was like a block breaker style game, but the paddle moved around the circumference of the field. I ended up it started as a charity game jam game. So all the proceeds went to charity after the end of the game jam, and then we're actually releasing a plus version on Switch next year. But the thing is that I did 50 levels in 3 days. I just made, it was me and graph paper for 3 days. It was insane. And then we actually put it in a physical arcade cabinet, and we actually toured that to a few different museums and shows, and it was so cool. So that's probably the one, yeah. So, I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions before we have to go. Anyone? Bueller? Nope. Okay. Well, it was wonderful having you here. So my other talks will actually be going on throughout the weekend, and also please feel free to stop by at the Wraith Games booth downstairs. So yes, have a wonderful event.